if people want to judge the roster and judge our performance, I think this year's LEC is actually stronger than last, first of all. And second, if you're going to flame, just flame after the split.
Today was the third and last day of the LEC 2025 Week 1, and I'm in the presence of Dylan Falco after a much needed win for G2. And yeah, I mean, it's been a pretty eventful week. And I saw that when you got on stage after beating SK today, you didn't look too happy. I just want to ask you as the first question, like, what was the first thing that you said to your players when you got on stage after that win?
I think mostly I just went to caps and said nice pentakill. No, I thought it was good. This nice to get a win for sure.
Yeah.
At least for us, like as staff of the team, not putting too much weight into these best of ones very early in the year. So I'm still optimistic, and yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, and I mean, everyone has been talking about like, oh, it's the first time that G2 like started the split 0-1 or even like 0-2, and I mean, this is like everyone obviously like loves to overreact, right? Especially as you said, like this is the best of ones and all that stuff. But how's it been like for the coaching staff as well? Because I mean, obviously, even if it doesn't mean much, it's still a pretty, I guess, new scenario in a way, because you are taking stuff from the back foot from the very start, right? So there's a lot of learnings to be had there. How's it been for you guys to adapt around all that?
We've had 1-2 weeks, even when I'm coaching G2, and we've won those splits. So I don't see it as turbulent or weird at all, actually.
Yeah.
We came into the week expecting to be one of the best teams in the league, if not the best team. And we were winning positions in 2 out of the 3 games and be through with the new objective. In my mind, it's just not that deep.
Yeah. Do you think it's just an Attan diff then? I mean today even like we saw it, like you got the Attan and then like everyone like just started running around the map and it felt like SK had like no way back into the game after that as well. Like, is it just
Yeah,
really OP?
I'm not even sure this was the best Atacon like execution from our side,
Yeah.
but it's just so OP that we just get pentakill and then the game's over. So I think it's just very swingy. Maybe we could have prepared a bit better. We were very good at playing around with this objective in practice, actually. So it
Yeah.
was very odd to see it go the way it did in the stage matches. Actually, we talked about it a lot and felt like we had a really good. But it's just new scenarios in a stage match, and it's fine. Not worried too much about that.
Yeah, and I mean, from hearing you at least, it feels like even though you entered the split with like different expectation than what the record shows right now, it hasn't affected your mental at all, right? Like especially to all the players, it seems that you guys are still taking it with the same approach as before, right?
I think like if we're behind today, losing a bit, it's definitely a bit more stressful, right? Being 0-2 and being behind in the game. That like as much as I'm sure we all know on G2 that we're still one of the top teams, it
Yeah.
still has that extra little weight or that extra little pressure or stress in the moment. Luckily we handled it well and we still we're better than our opponents and managed to outplay them, right? So I wouldn't say it has no effect on us. Any team on a loss streak, you always have some sort of effect, and you need to get through. You need to make sure you're not overthinking the draft. You need to make sure you're not overthinking your plays in the game or hesitating because of or over aggressing because of past losses. But at the same time, we still at our core believe in our skill edge and understanding edge and ability to outplay and ultimately win the games.
Yeah, and a lot of people have been using the argument of you guys bringing a rookie in Skewmon and also Labrov, who is new to the roster, and obviously he has to fill in the shoes of Mickey X, who was like a big part of the roster in the past as well. And they've been using this to say that G2 should maybe not be considered to be favorites even in the first split, but might be a team that will scale up over the year, especially later in like spring and summer. Do you agree with this, or do you think that you guys should be still considered as favorites even in winter?
I would just ask you in the past years with the 7K gold lead how often we would win and what changed that we don't win with the 7K gold lead this week. And if we had gone 2-1 this week, what the storyline would be. I just
Yeah.
think it's just a bit like it's fine. I'm really not. We are not involving ourselves in these sorts of. Should we be considered a top team? Not a top team. We're here to try and win the split. We think we can win the split. I think the competition is better if that's what people want to say. For
Yeah.
sure, this version of K Corp, this version of Koi, this version of Fnatic, arguably, is like much better than the versions, or better, at least GX even, is better than the version last year. So if you want to use that argument, but if you want to use the argument based on these best of ones, then I'm not I'm not buying it as much.
Yeah. And from talking to you as well, it seems that like you guys, especially the first two games, like it felt like you still have like this game plan and you've been following it, but maybe
Yeah.
it was a bit unlucky because, as you said, like the Atacon, right? Maybe not the perfect execution as well. But do you think anything is like still to be improved? Like, do you think there's still like some stuff that are missing in the team right now, or was it really just bad luck? I guess in the first few games.
Well, it's never luck, right? We are ultimately
Yeah.
making those decisions in the game, and if we make those decisions in a finals, we'll just lose the finals. So I
Yeah.
think it's always you need to take responsibility for the decisions you're making. I think some of the drafting stuff could have been better as well.
Mm.
Um, like we're drafting in our first two matches team compositions that scale poorly, so
Mhm.
it makes those throws much more defined, right? If you scale bad and you throw, it just you just lose.
Yeah.
And in the third game, even though our early game was worse, we still could just win anyways.
Hmm.
So I think we want to be able to play aggressive team comps that have a lot of playmaking, but maybe we just need to be a bit more careful of how we draft it without saying too much.
Yeah, obviously. And how do you think have S1mple and Labrov been integrating to the team, by the way? Because obviously that's the biggest question, right?
Yeah, they've been integrating great, I think. Skimon was mega ahead in the first two games. Very
Hmm.
talkative shot caller. It fills a very important role in the team, and he's been
Hmm.
playing super good. Labrov is also very, very solid. Him and Hans, I've watched them play for the past 2 months. They look like one of the scariest bot lanes I've ever seen. I'm very happy with it.
Yeah.
Definitely must be a lot for them to come into such a um, big org and then lose the first two games. It definitely like can be tough for them.
Hmm.
Um, but there was so much more than what they did individually that made us lose these first two games. So
Yeah.
I'm just really happy to have them on our team.
Yeah, and obviously, I mean, next week you have some big matchups ahead of you, but I think the best one that everyone is going to be looking forward to is Fnatic, right? Obviously, you're
Yeah.
going to be facing Mickey X. How do
Yeah.
you feel ahead of that matchup?
I think they're a very good team. They played good this week. I think their loss they got stomped, and then they mega stomped the two games that they won.
Yeah.
So we scrimmed them actually a lot, and that's kind of what I felt it was like. It was a very hit and miss team, but when they hit, they look very good, and when they miss, it looks very bad. So
Hmm.
hoping we'll be on the good side of that one next week.
Yeah, and I mean, aside from them as well, obviously you're going to be facing Giant X, who, I mean, right now they're playing against K
Yeah,
Corp, but they are 2-0 and they're looking pretty good. And even
yeah.
Vitality has shown some good stuff so far. I feel like they're not a team to be underestimated as well, right? So, what do you think about these other matchups as well?
GX was actually the strongest team we faced, I think, in the offseason
Mm.
when we scrimped. They gave us, I would say, the most challenge of any team we faced of all of the 9 teams. People might not have expected it. I certainly wouldn't have expected it before I heard the rumors that they were a very strong scrim team. So
Yeah.
that would be 3-0 for them this week if they win this match. I'm not sure if they will win, but it looks like they're winning. So yeah, I think they'll, looking like at least early in the year, they are not one of the strongest teams for sure.
Hmm. Yeah, and Vitality as well?
Um, Vitality, they're also, I think, one of those hit and miss teams. So
Hmm.
I'm not too sure how they'll do.
Yeah, fair enough. And yeah, I guess just overall, I would like to ask, like, to finish up as well, like, what are your thoughts about the current state of the game as well? Because it's been like such a big topic, right? Like, there's been some people saying like, oh, there's too much snowball in the game, and then like, there's the
Yeah,
writers coming out and saying like, well, the stats don't really align. So, I mean, like, what are your thoughts as a coach on the state of season 15? I guess.
I think the way things feel and the way things are can be very different when it regards to just solo queue.
Hmm.
Um, it always feels bad to lose solo queue games,
Yeah.
and when you have these things and reasons you can talk about, it can be like the optics of things actually matter. I think from a game design perspective,
Hmm.
um, I'm not sure like a couple extra stats on boots that doesn't even have too much gold value is really the thing that's winning or losing the games. But I guess sometimes it sure feels like it.
Yeah.
They did nerf those. Um, so yeah, I think the Otacon stuff, as much as we threw the games at it, I think it's a great addition to the game. Maybe a bit too strong, but
Hmm.
we'll have to see more of how it works out in these pro matches. Maybe it develops.
Yeah.
I don't like it that if you get it, it feels so hard to actually win the game. But
Yeah.
at the same time, I feel like the revives, specifically, because that's usually the competitive one we get, strategically are interesting, right? It just creates interesting scenarios where like you win the fight, but you actually lose the scenario, or you lose the scenario, but you win the fight.
Yeah.
And I think that can be cool. I think anything that adds these just new creative scenarios that can happen in the game is just great for League in general. So I
Mhm.
really like the idea of what they're going for there. Maybe it will get adjusted at some point, but yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
think.
Is a 20 minutes Atacon stronger than a 20 minutes Nasher with the old season?
Um, at 20 minutes, hmm, I'm not sure, but definitely later. The later the Otacon is taken, it looks like because your champions are just stronger at that point, it
Mhm.
becomes very very impactful. So like a
Yeah.
25
And you can
plus
chain it
minute
into a
Otacon,
Nasher, right?
you can chain it into a Nash, or you can just
Yeah.
run it mid. Yeah, chain it into Nash and then push with both buffs, and it just looks like that looks very strong.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah,
And just to finish up as well, I mean, now I believe there's three Nunu mains, right, in the team. There's
yes,
Skumon, there's Kesha, and I think yourself
yeah.
as well used to play
I
Nunu,
would
right?
be the third one. Yeah, yes, of course, of course. It's great. I'm not sure if we'll
So,
be seeing it in our competitive matches, but we'll see.
yeah, I mean, I'm sure Skumon must be expecting it sometime, hopefully. But yeah, I mean, obviously, you have to do what's best for the team, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, do you have any last words for G2 fans as well? I guess to hype them up, especially after the 1 and 2 week.
Um, no, we're going into next week thinking we're gonna win, or at least win most of our matches. We
Mhm.
feel actually very good about the way things are going behind the scenes. We don't feel like we're struggling at all. I
Mhm.
think it was just some extreme cases in this games, and if people want to judge the roster and judge our performance, I think this year's LEC is actually stronger than last, first of all. And
Mhm.
second, if you're gonna flame, just flame after the split. I think that would be the best.
Yeah, perfect. Well, in any case, Dylan, thank you so much for talking with us. It's always super fun to talk with you because I mean, obviously, hearing all these insights about G2, right? And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, for now, good luck to you next week. Some pretty banger matches. We'll be watching for sure. And yeah, for now, good night. Thank you again, and see you soon.
Great, thank you.